right. Everybody hear me okay? Perfect. I know it's 9:30 in Las Vegas. And so you guys are all the heroes and the champions, because if you got here yesterday and you're in Vegas, that means all night you probably didn't get much sleep, right? Anybody here actually not get any sleep last night? Anybody here daring enough to raise their hand? Right there. There you go. Perfect. So really humbled and excited to be here today and speak at WRECON. I want to say thank you, obviously, to Kowal and the team over there for all that they do to put this on and to be able to provide great content, really, for all of us here. So by show of hands, how many people here are realtors? How many people here are in finance? Contractors? Anybody here just because it sounded like a fun thing to do at 9:30 in the morning in Las Vegas? All right, there we go, clear in the back. So a little bit about myself. I'm president of SRE.com. Essentially what we're building is Amazon for the homeowner, is what we're doing there. A few years ago, I was awarded from LinkedIn as one of the 5% most viewed in the world on LinkedIn. For those of you, any Rotarians here? Rotary, okay, I have my Paul Harris Fellow. And so those of you who are part of that, you understand that whole give first mentality. And that's something we're going to be talking about a lot today, okay, is the idea that no matter what trade you're in, what the future holds is the fact that, one, you need to be focused on the consumer, okay? Because if you're focused on yourself, I love that past quote, you're going to be steamrolled. Because consumers are smarter, they're more educated, and they're more aware of all of our industries more than they've ever been in the history of the world. So some of the big ideas that we're talking about today, trends that are impacting the future of real estate, where the trends are driving our industry, and what the future looks like from here. When I go out and consumers come to me and they say, John, what should we do? What are rates? I always want to make that joke. Well, let me grab my crystal ball, right? Let me tell you exactly what's going to happen. And what's really funny is some of them actually look at me and say, okay, what does it say? And you're just like, no, it was a joke. There is no crystal ball. We don't know. In fact, what COVID has taught us is that stocks and rates and housing aren't doing anything that we actually thought they were going to do based on historic trends. Anybody disagree with that? Wonderful. So going forward, how we got here, right? We're going to talk a little bit about demographics. Anybody in real estate understands the three absolutely critical rule to it, right? Location, location, location. And then you hear it on the news every single day. We have an inventory problem. So the American population today, if you look on there, we have a problem. For the first time in our history, our population is actually starting to dwindle, okay? If you look at the graph to my right, your left, you can actually see where it rose up. Baby boomers, they did great, and people are having less children now. They're deciding to no longer have families. They're deciding, hey, you know what? I'd rather focus inward instead of outward, okay? And everybody has their own ability to decide for themselves. But don't get too scared, because based on Gen Z, we have about 50 more years of a really great housing market, okay? But if you look at the studies, and if you see what's happening 50 years from now, we actually are going to have an excess of housing due to the limited amount of actual births happening in the United States right now. Where Americans live. You've heard, who here has heard over the last year, because the media wants you to think there's a mass exodus from the cities. Anybody heard that? Anybody seen that? Okay. Now, by raise of hands, how many think that actually happened? And here's a wild hint. I'm going to tell you it didn't. So how many people want to say it actually happened? Raise your hand. Okay. What actually went through and happened is there was no mass exodus. A lot of people living in the major metropolis, right? So New York, San Francisco, LA, they shifted from living in the high-rise to buying a home in the same area. 3%. That's the number of people who actually went through and shifted from a state, shifted from a big city to another state. That's actually normal number for an exodus. Really interesting, isn't it? So when we talk about, oh, all these people are leaving the cities in droves, right? We envision the Dust Bowl of years gone by, right? Remember that? What was that famous show where he finds oil and they put grandma on top of the car? And she's on that rocking chair and they go out, right? They're rich, okay? And the Beverly Hillbillies, right? That's not what happened this time. So as you go back, the major population areas are still our major population areas. People shifted, and anybody here from California? Okay, what happens every time people move? They face those severe winters. And guess what? They move back. Okay, that's part of the trends. They miss. I was there last week with my family. We're right off the beach there in Playa del Rey. 72 degrees, 74 degrees. As we drove back, I live in Utah, and we drove back through the Mojave Desert, 118 degrees. Okay, so it goes back that way as well. Everybody, oh, move to Vegas. And I saw so many billboards and so many signs. I'm sure you've all seen them as well. And one of the companies out there is called Homey. And their billboard said, make an extra $100,000 selling your home. Sell to a Californian. And I thought, that's a good marketing. I like that. But what we're seeing once again on there, people, 3% leaving, coming back. But what's happening is housing inventory is at historic lows. It's harder now than ever to actually find a home. Over the last year, small homes tripled in demand. Because for the first time in our history, as of May of this year, the average median price of a home in the United States, $380,000. That's the new high. Now some of you are saying, oh, that's nothing. Median price in San Francisco is $1 million, right? Well, back in November of last year, when it just barely crested over 300,000, 75 million Americans couldn't afford the median household price. That's 60% of households. It's gone up since then to 380,000. So what's happening? It's too expensive and there's not enough homes. People want to experience the American dream. In fact, just give me the American apartment at some point, right? I don't need more than that little mow strip around the house. There's an article in the last 30 days in New York City, everybody's saying, oh, don't worry, housing, plenty, plenty. There are no longer apartments available in New York because everybody's going back to work. People who thought they could wait can't wait. If we want to sell more homes, we're going to have more homes to sell. Now that sounds really easy, right? It's kind of like, well, 1 + 1 = 2. Except with this new math my kids teach. 1 + 1 could actually equal an insane amount of numbers. But where I was raised, I grew up in Germany, okay? We were there during the Cold War. Now, I'm not that old, I'm only 41, okay? But we were there when the wall came down. In simple math, 1 + 1 = 2, right? It's that easy. If you have more people wanting homes, you have to build more homes. But the problem is, contractors, are they building spec homes anymore? The contractors in this room, how many spec homes do you have right now hoping you can sell them? Right? We learned our lesson from the Great Recession. A great friend of mine, his dad and his uncles, who we bought his company off of, they went through and they almost went bankrupt. They were lucky that they had planned ahead for what was to come, just in case something ever happened during the last boom. We are past due the time for another easing of the housing bubble because everything's in a cycle, right? COVID threw that all off. So existing home sales, they're still at an all-time high. And part of it is the fact that people are emotionally invested in the fact that they can't get a home. How many here has joined a line somewhere because everybody else was in the line? I can't be the only one. Everybody here is too embarrassed. They'll never admit it. I see a line for food and I think, ooh, those must be the best French fries in the world. I'm going to join that line. I'm getting in line. I'm going to buy that, right? When people see homes are going for sale right now, Austin, Texas, the average home, anybody want to take a wild guess how much over asking price every single home averages? $100,000. Austin, Texas, $100,000 is the average. So sales are high, inventory is low. And mortgage rates are still incredibly low. Last year alone, 12 times we had historic lows. So I served as the president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. I represented over the 900,000 loan originators in the United States. Met with members of Congress, went out to DC, and made sure that we fought on behalf of homeowners. Those of you who are real estate agents, your association is NAR. They do the same thing, trying to make sure that bad legislation goes away, right? that good legislation is passed, because believe it or not, there is such thing as good legislation, okay? And making sure that people are protected. Yesterday, there's some major news that hit. The Supreme Court ruled that Fannie and Freddie could not come out of conservatorship. Those of you in the industry understand exactly what that means, and that is not good for our economy. So with mortgage rates low, you think, okay, everybody who's refinanced has refinanced, right? 78% of Americans did not refinance last year. Really let that sink in. $4.3 trillion in money last year was purchased and financed. This is the most since 2005, and 78% of people didn't take advantage of it. Is there still a lot more business out there? Have I put everybody to sleep? I can't see beyond. What do you guys think? Is there still a lot of business? There's 78% still business out there. Think about that. So when your competitors are out there saying, hey, I've done enough, I'm going to rest on my laurels now. You who are here today because you care enough about your industry, because you care enough about your consumers, because you care enough about your families, you're here learning more about what you can do in order to become better. Because isn't that what it's all about, to become better for your consumers? I learned today there was something even cooler than the old CAD drawings. I geeked out over that black and white stuff, right? And now, oh my gosh, is this real? Is that really what my house looks like? Something that is becoming industry standard. What did Benjamin Franklin say, the best time to plant a tree? Right, 40 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree? Today. So if you didn't know what the industry standard was, start today. If you didn't know what the best thing to do was for your client, start today. And once again, you're hearing this theme. It's all about the client. A great friend of mine back at the beginning of 2020, him and his wife, they own a major brokerage out in Arizona. And they made a conscientious decision to lower the income they make per loan. That's not what industry standard is. They blew through their personal records. In 2020, they closed 2,021 loans. A small shop as far as human capital. But they're in the top 10 as far as production with one of the major wholesale lenders in the United States of America. Because they understood it was about volume, not getting rich off one client. Because guess what happens in a social marketplace? You create raving fans. And for those of you who aren't on social media, who have not posted a selfie today, right, that song, selfie, selfie, okay, do it. Unlike most speakers, I'm telling you, take out your phones. Take pictures up there and share them. Because if your clients don't know what you're doing to become better, then they don't know what you're doing. And if they don't know what you're doing, you will cease to become relevant. And the individual who's no longer relevant goes the way of the dinosaur. And I don't know about any of you here, I love what I do for a living. I love this industry. Name any other industry where you can do the same exact thing day after day, but every single family is different. Every single family has different needs. Rates are low. Costs are going up. But lumber prices, 47% decrease. Did you guys see that article just recently? They've dropped and will continue to drop. And now guess what? They're worried there's going to be too much wood. And then they're going to have to shut things down again. Cyclical, right? So right now, pending home sales are down 4.4% in April. All the media wants you to see home prices rising, home sales lowering. But remember that old radio show, Now You Know the Rest of the Story, right? I don't think he had a Scottish accent, but I threw that in just in case. So he used to go through and say, well, here's the rest of this story. Well, home sales are down because there's no inventory. What the news should be is that homes are selling in record time, right? The news should be reporting on the fact that due to low inventory, People are unable to purchase homes. That's what it should be. NAR recently stated that this is actually a national crisis. Let that sink in. There aren't enough homes. Children are having to move back in with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. Now all of a sudden you're having larger homes. McMansions are coming back. Isn't that really interesting to think? And not because people want to show things off, but because they have to have enough bedrooms and bathrooms and kitchens to have their entire family come in and move in with them. Because they can't afford, they can't find, they can't go out and experience what hopefully everybody in this room has already been able to experience, which is the American dream. Consumers still want to buy homes. And if anybody disagrees, we can meet out in the hall afterwards. They want to buy homes. Millennials are actually becoming one of the largest purveyors of, or purchasers of homes. So remember how everybody says, oh, the millennials are not buying, they're not buying. Well, guess what? That dam broke. And over the next 50 years, they have money, and they're incredibly intelligent. And so once again, get on social media. Get out there, utilize the tools that were talked about previously, yesterday and today, and make sure that people are aware of what you do. Because I can guarantee I'm not the only one who had a friend who went through and financed a home, and he says, well, wait, I would have helped you. Oh, I didn't know you did that. Right? I heard some people agreeing. But CNBC just released a report this last week talking about the fact that we may be at a tipping point. I'm going to disagree with CNBC. I don't think there's a bubble getting ready to burst. I don't. Because once again, supply and demand. The demand far outweighs the supply. I do believe that we might be able to face an easing of the bubble. But this is not 2008 again. We still have, in my opinion, another 2 years of growth. And what this means is you have another 2 years in order to make sure that you continue to take care of your clients and create these raving fans. So the demographics we've talked about, they're steady. They're staying in the cities. They may be moving, right, to a smaller home. They may be moving out somewhere in the area. But guess what happens? As soon as they move, somebody else wants to move in. When I was 12 years old, and I know this sounds a little weird because a lot of people aren't like me at 12, I was thinking about my future. And I asked my dad, I says, Dad, now one thing you guys need to understand, my dad is one of my heroes. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. He's intelligent, he's smart, and he has a mustache, so when he makes a joke, you don't know if he's joking. And you always look for that little twinkle in the eye, right? But very, very intelligent man. And I says, Dad, what should I do when I grow up? And he looked at me, and some dads, oh, go do this, go do that. But he says, Johnny, because that's my nickname, he says, Johnny, find something people can't live without, and go do that. So I thought about that. Then when I was 16 years old, I was in debate. You never would have guessed, would you? And was in debate, and I was listening to my debate coach. And he was talking about what his father did for a living. His father took sand from the desert and sold it to the Japanese because they needed to expand the island. And it clicked. You can't create more land. During times of plenty and during times of recession, people need homes, right? People refinanced when it was 20%. People bought when it was 18%. People complained that they have a 2.74% interest rate for 30 years. That's what consumers do. Well, my friend says I could have gotten a 1.75 60-year. Great. And you know what I tell those people? Go to your friend. Talk with them. Because remember, you always want them to come back and become raving fans. Talk with that friend. Get a quote from them and bring it back. And if they'll provide you with an ethical quote, I will match it. Okay? Because that's what we as professionals do. Because once again, it's not about making a ton of money off one deal, right? It's about making sure that we have plenty of inventory coming in the door. Warren Buffett, what did he say? When other people are running away from the investment, run towards it. And look what he did, right? So consumers need to find an easier way to find real estate. In order to beat this inventory problem that exists in the United States right now, where are they going? They're going to the internet, okay? Hopefully they're finding you on social media. Hopefully they're making sure to say, okay, this is who it is. However, they need a quicker way to bid on the homes as well, because what's happening? They're getting in, and 7 out of 10 Redfin agents said that 7 out of 10 of their purchasers, people trying to buy a home, are being outbid. 7 out of 10. Once again, we talked about it. Austin, Texas, asking price averages $100,000 over. And then the industry or our government must provide incentives to build more smaller homes. That is the future. Because if $380,000 is a median price as of last month, and if 75 million Americans can't afford the median price, then we need to come up with the solution in order to fix that problem. A friend of mine right now, they're 3D printing homes. Anybody seen this? That's the future. 10 years ago, it was those Lego blocks was the future. Have you guys seen those? You fill them up and you put concrete inside. They're amazing. They're old. They're gone. Now it's 3D printing. And you can make that home look as amazing as possible. And guess what? It costs about 1/10 of the price. And they can build 5,000 square foot homes by 3D printing. This is the tech of the future today. They're coming up with products for tomorrow. So we thought it was going to be all about easier online searching, right? Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and others, they've shown that finding the home is not enough. A lot of people talk about AI, but I'm here to tell you today that the human-assisted e-commerce is what people will continue to go to. Because if it was all about AI, then Walmart and Amazon and Zillow, they'd all control our industries, wouldn't they? If it was all about AI. People come back because they like and trust you. That's the future. Leverage your intellectual talent, leverage the technology, but make sure that you are ever present. Make sure that you remain relevant. Are there any appraisers in the room? Is that pretty telling? Talk about an industry that legislated themselves almost completely out of existence. And for those of you watching, there's not a single appraiser in this room. And what's happening? It's all online now. And for those of you dealing in today's economy, how many of those appraisals are actually coming in accurate based on the purchase price? Anybody had one in the last year come in with the purchase price? Me either. Because isn't the value what someone's willing to pay? And they're coming in too low because they aren't catching up with what the industry is doing. And so that is a great example of the human-assisted piece was pushed away, and now it's becoming completely e-commerce. And I hate to say it, I don't like it. Because I like it when an appraiser can come in and say, oh my gosh, you guys did marble in your bathroom? Ding, ding, ding. Oh, you did Brazilian walnut. It's not pine hardwood. Ding, ding, ding. Complete LED changeover. All of these things increase value. A computer will never, ever equate to the human capital. And I strongly believe that. And that is why consumers will continue needing an avenue in order to make sure they can find you. It's not about historic low interest rates, right? Rocket Mortgage, remember the button? That was easy. If it was all about historic low interest rates, game over, game done. All of us can go home. But what do? They go to the individuals, right, that they trust, that they know. Look at Amazon. Before Amazon, we were told that mail was a thing of the past, right? Opening up a letter, old, everything's email, right? How many here is like a child Christmas morning waiting for their Amazon package to show up? This guy right here. And I get so sad when the driver drives by and he or she doesn't bring me anything, because we have like 10 drivers every day. They need to be more efficient, right? But they don't drop anything off. And I'm distraught. Because, you know, it's like that, you guys remember that old, The Music Man musical? The Wells Fargo wagons are coming? That's Amazon now, okay? But what they've actually noticed is people enjoy opening up packages. Mail is on the rise. People enjoy opening up a letter again. How many of you actually write thank you letters? Isn't it so funny? We're talking about the future, and I'm saying write a letter. Okay? Because the future is people want that human-assisted piece. And then they're going to take a picture of it and share it on social media. And they're going to sit there and they're say, look what I got today. Right? They care about me. They care about my family. They care about the purchase. They care about my home. Hey, I'm just calling to see if you love that design we did. Didn't I tell you this was coming back in style, right? You know, did you love that addition we did to your home? How do you feel we did on the refinance? People need to find an easier way to find a real estate loan officer or realtor or builder that they trust. Now, at the end of the day, we can't sell more real estate until there's more of it to sell. Okay? But in the meantime, we need to give consumers faster and easier access to trusted advisors that will level the playing field. When you go to Amazon today, do you even look at anything that has 1 star? I don't. In fact, I get so annoyed, I only click 4 stars and up. Plus, I only want Prime, right? Because I know they've had reviews. I know that people trust them and like them. That's something we're working on right now today, my company. So if you have a second, go there, look at it. rpa.sre.com. People sign up, consumers come in, and then based on reviews, based on stars, they find you, they like you, they use you. It's that social marketplace that is the future of our industry. Because consumers right now, gone are the days of printing out 100 pages, hopping in the van, and going and looking at homes. They're online. They're talking to their friends online. And with this economy the way it is and the lack of inventory, as soon as they contact you, they are ready to flip the switch. And they want people who are efficient, who are on top of their technology game, and most importantly, can be trusted. Thank you.